Tonight, we continue to search out those companies across the Northeast who are setting the pace.
In this programme, we'll be concentrating on those companies shortlisted for the categories Design and Technology and Company of the Year. And among those we're visiting are some of the ultimate winners of this year's Northern Business Awards.
To follow in the footsteps of Armstrong, Stevenson and Swan is one of the responsibilities of those who entered our first category, Design and Technology. And chairing the panel that judged the efforts of the designers of 1989, Professor Mary Bromley. Can we be clear at the start why design is such an important part of the business and innovation process?
Well, it's terribly important. I think mainly because we've got to compete with other markets. We've got to compete with the Japanese. And it's just not sufficient anymore to make a product that doesn't look well and that therefore won't compete and won't sell.
Do you feel that the message of the importance of design has got through to business people in the Northeast?
It's getting through. I don't think it's got through. It's getting through. I think quite a lot of people are still unaware of how important design is and how design relates to the whole. It's not just about a pretty idea on a drawing board. It's about shape and form and colour and whether the thing works, you know, fitness for purpose, and also whether the design is right for the particular market level. So there's so much to consider in design. It isn't a frivolous bit of top dressing, as it were. It's something very fundamental.
This is a piece of equipment which is likely to sit still, doing absolutely nothing for as long as a year. But when it's needed, it has to operate in reality within 20 milliseconds if it's going to prevent a major catastrophe. The name Rayroll has always been associated with the electricity supply industry. This year, the company has won a nomination in the Design and Technology section for its new SPD2 circuit breaker, which protects high-voltage transmission lines in electricity substations in the United Kingdom, and now, thanks to a £26 million export order, in Saudi Arabia as well. Rayroll believes the technology will re-establish the Tyneside company as an important world supplier.
30 years ago, Rayroll was participating in one of the most exciting projects here in the UK. And that was the creation of the transmission network throughout the whole country. That, of course, absorbed all our manufacturing effort and resources to concentrate on that. And Britain led the world. Once we'd completed the UK grid and the requirements for switchgear, then we had to face the lack of a UK market, which required highly competitive products of the latest technology for worldwide markets. At that time, the lack of a UK demand was a major constraint on our development. This we had to address, and this latest technology puts us back on the world stage where I think the name of Rayroll belongs.
A circuit breaker interrupts the flow of current in an emergency. It has to prevent the enormous energy carried in a transmission line jumping across the gap it creates in the circuit. Now, once, that called for as many as 6 individual breakpoints insulated by substantial quantities of air. What the Rayroll team has done, by rethinking the whole concept of the circuit breaker, it's reduced its size, the number of parts, and brought down the cost. Today, only 2 breakpoints are needed. The ultimate objective of all this is to make the complete substations of tomorrow as compact and as cheap as they possibly can be. What today might take the space of 10 football pitches and a high building might one day be possible in space 10 times less. The expertise which has gone into producing these extremely efficient circuit breakers is only the start of that process.
You don't have to be part of a big company with a research and development department to have a bright idea in design or technology. Our next nomination involves one man, a driving instructor from here in Harrogate, who's convinced that we can improve road safety using these small, highly efficient reflectors called highlights. There are more than 300,000 road accidents and 5,000 deaths on our roads every year. But there hasn't been a major invention to improve safety since Percy Shaw's cat's eyes in 1934. Highlights work on the same principle as cat's eyes, but the inventor thinks they're much more adaptable. They can be easily fitted to any material and used in a variety of situations.
People domestically around their own house, on steps which is dark to see at night time, on the garage doors, or even on the car itself, on gate posts. The list is endless.
Now, we're actually standing by an accident black spot. How could highlights be used to solve the problems here?
I think highlights would do a better job than the verge marker posts we've got at this present time. The highlights, in fact, can be installed all on the inside of the bridge, taking less space, but also such as on the inside of this bridge here, it would be very difficult to even put a verge marker post there, whereas highlights would be installed there very, very easily.
Earlier this year, he won the prestigious Road Safety Award from the Institute of Highways and Transportation. It means public recognition after 5 years' hard work. Malcolm Manby is convinced his product is just about to take off. Since showing highlights at an exhibition recently, he's received inquiries from firms in 23 countries. The Falklands War was a triumph for Britain's armed forces on land and at sea. It also cruelly demonstrated the role of technology in 20th century warfare, where keeping just seconds ahead of the enemy makes the difference between life and death. One of the lessons learnt during the Falklands War was the need for a much more efficient way of getting those essential supplies to the ships wherever and whenever they needed them, irrespective of the weather conditions. NEI Clark Chapman at Gateshead took up the challenge, and this is their solution, the new replenishment at sea system. This test rig at the company's Victoria Works is a refinement of a system that's been used for decades, wherever a ship operates away from base for a long time and needs supplies delivered at sea. Basically, a rope or wire links the vessels, and tons of material, from armaments to food, are pooled from one to the other. This computerized graphic display has been worked out by Clark Chapman to show customers how their system works. The supply ship on the left is linked to a frigate, but the weather is bad. Both vessels are rolling dangerously. The tension on the wires is fluctuating dramatically, and normally this operation would be abandoned until the weather improved. The frigate would be left vulnerable without essential supplies. But Clark Chapman's system compensates for the ship's movements. Their automatic computerized control monitors their positions and pays out or pulls back the support wire as required. The transfer of goods continues despite conditions at sea. And the control tower on the supply ship enables one man to oversee the entire operation in a way that simply wasn't possible before.
Replenishment at sea has taken place for many years, but this current development enables replenishment to take place in far worse weather conditions than hitherto was the case. This gives additional operational flexibility to the Navy, which is obviously a high priority to them.
Beaumont House in Stocksfield in the Tyne Valley is headquarters to Soil Machine Dynamics, whose products are now in demand from all over the world.
What we're setting out to do is to rebuild very good quality design engineering in England, and really in a large part of the West our ability to engineer has disappeared. You know, the old traditional scheme of draftsmen who started off as engineering apprentices and who were trained in the evening classes, those people were very competent and very clever. They were badly paid and they had no authority, and gradually that system collapsed. And I think that what we are is a prototype of a new system which is very uniquely British, I think, in the way it operates.
Dr. Rees and his team have been nominated for their success in creating machines which can work remotely under the water, digging trenches in the seabed and automatically burying pipelines for the oil industry, fiber optic cables for telecommunication companies, power lines for electricity undertakings. The company, which has just bought an interest in a Tyneside engineering works, combines mechanical skills with expertise in hydraulics and electronics. The machines which result are unique, each one a new way of doing a demanding and very particular job. Alan Rees believes his company is setting a pace that potential international competitors are finding impossible to match.
Our particular form of success, I think, is based on small teams, and our general idea is that we will grow by developing the same sort of team that we have in underwater engineering here in other fields. What will happen is if you don't keep on developing the technology, people will copy it. And, you know, there's always people snapping at our heels, copying what we did last year. But by the time they've got round to making a half-hearted copy of that, we'll do something much better.
I've always been more interested in engineering than farming. I think I'm a better engineer, better self-taught engineer than I'm a farmer. I've probably been making things since I was about 8 years old. I used to make some of my own toys, but when I left school at 14, one of the first things I made was a hydraulic sack lifter because everything was done by hand in those days.
Arable farmer George Byerley has designed and built many of the agricultural machines which are used in the day-to-day running of his farm at Welton Hall, Northumberland. His latest invention is this, the Byerley Roadmaker, a machine with no moving parts that can turn waste materials into compact farm roads.
The Byerley Roadmaker, it's just a simple machine, a hopper on a sledge, and it enables the farmer to resurface his farm road using road planes. Now, most farmers are quite content just to tip this material out of a trailer and push it about with a shovel, but, you know, they end up with a lot of bumps and potholes straight away. This machine, it'll lay a level bed of material 10 foot wide and from 2 to 8 inches thick.
The Roadmaker will lay 10 tons of material in less than 1 minute. It can be operated by anyone who can drive a tractor. George Byerley hopes that demand for his machines will help him turn his lifelong hobby into a business.
Where we farm now is tillage farm, and we're pretty busy from about July right through the harvest till October. But after that, you know, it's just a bit spraying to do, and we're not very busy in the winter, so we'll just change over and do engineering work in the winter. And that's when I make the Roadmakers. We make a batch in the winter and we sell them, hopefully the following spring.
It's no good turning on the waterworks after November 15th. Register by then, or you'll miss out on the extras you could get if you become an H2 owner. To register for incentives and the prospectus and the water share offers, call 0272 272 272, no later than November 15th.
The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful coloured umbrella. They took some honey and plenty of money. Owl was such a clever fella. He took out a pension some time ago with a reputable company you probably know. Oh, Owl, what a clever fella you are. You are. What a clever fella you are.
Be wise. Float into retirement with a pension from Legal & General. If you're watching television without a license, you're looking at a £400 fine. Don't break the law. Get a license.
1.5 million tiles must go. JR Discount Tiles offer these 6x6 wall tiles at 7p each and quarry tiles at 9p each, all at JR Discount Tile Centres now.
All over the northeast, there is evidence of development. And as the face of the region changes, so the judges in the category Company of the Year have been seeing an ever stronger commitment from northeast business to serving the customer. Chairman Ray Atkinson says he and his colleagues are very excited by the quality of the companies putting themselves forward in this category. He told me how they've gone about starting to choose the ultimate winner.
4 criteria. Always, of course, the normal financial ones, the strength of the balance sheet. Much more important than that, the product mix, where it was going in the sales, what the niches were which were being filled. Thirdly, the quality of management, the style of management, the way in which they were perceiving the marketplace. And finally, of course, from our standpoint, what contribution the companies were making to the region, to its economy, to its prosperity, to its image, because image is of the essence.
The secret of great cooking is the relationship between la chef and the cooker. That's why you'll get on famously with the new World Rapport. Simple, slow setting.
The ingredients of our commercial breaks are one of the principal products offered by our first finalist in this category. It's widely believed that the competitive world of advertising is in the stranglehold of London-based agencies. But one company is trying to change all that. Robson Brown Communico of Newcastle.
The advertising cake in the Northeast isn't all that big. If you put all of the money together of all of the advertising agencies, you wouldn't have a very big advertising agency. So what we've got to do is encourage clients who are going to London, Manchester, Leeds to come back to the Northeast. And if we can compete effectively and better than our London counterparts, we will encourage more clients to come back, and then we will be more successful and the industry will be more successful.
Alan Brown and his partner, Stuart Robson, were working together for another advertising agency when they decided to form their own company. A brave decision, considering that there were over 40 other advertising agencies already competing in the region. But they believed there was room for a firm that could offer more than just advertising.
We always felt that in the advertising agency business there was a better way to do it. There was a better way to run an advertising stroke creative business. Then in 1983 we decided enough was enough and we had to bite the bullet, which is of course the real test in time. So we launched our particular brand of advertising then, and so far so good. It seems to have gone down quite well.
Today the company is divided into 3 divisions: advertising, design and video. The firm employs 70 people. It's expected to turn over £12 million this year and includes on its client list British Gas Northern, Cameron's Breweries and the Metro Centre.
Henry Ford once said that 50% of his advertising was terrific and 50% of his advertising was a waste of time. The only thing he didn't know was which was which. Now, to my mind, that's not a very, very good odds, and our clients deserve better odds than that. So if we can cut down those odds by having effective marketing, effective research, effective planning, and then do our creative work so it meets those conditions, we'll do better work, our clients will be more successful, and then we'll be more successful.
Record today. Let's give a thunderous round.
Empire around a product about which he knew next to nothing: computers and software technology. 10 years ago, Wiley to develop a program that would help him to run his printing business. He was so impressed by the results, they became business partners, selling the product to other printers. They produced more software packages. And today, that firm has an £8 million turnover, pre-tax profits of £3 million and 130 employees.
In contrast to most other computer software companies, we're not technically driven. We have a very small R&D staff and we buy in technology if we need it. What we do is to look for opportunities in the marketplace, gaps in product ranges, new opportunities emerging because of changing technology, for instance. And then we develop a product which meets that demand. So it's strictly market. I mean, it's a classical marketing exercise, and we seek to meet what the market actually requires.
The company's strength is in pinpointing emerging gaps in the market and quickly filling them with new products at the right price. Packages of floppy disks and instruction manuals costing between £100 and £500 are sold over the counter. But customers aren't left to master them in isolation. This is the customer services unit. It's a kind of helpline. If a computer isn't behaving itself, a client can phone here and an expert will talk him or her through the problem. At any one time, up to 20,000 people could use this service, but usually 800 a day actually do so.
To actually clear that down, you will need to go into the previous PIW section of the SSP menu.
SageSoft is now compiling a portfolio of products. It includes a microchip and associated software that enables personal computers to be linked together in networks. Already, it's a market leader in its field with 31% of the share. It promises to be a global success.
The future is developing new products, looking for new opportunities. Opportunities overseas, we're already exporting to the States and Europe. Acquisitions, perhaps. So we see a rosy future ahead of us.
Good morning. Hi, who are you here to see today?
Here to see Mr. Morday.
Could you stand up?
Our next nomination for Company of the Year is in the same field as SageSoft. But quality software products are at the top end of the market. Their software packages cost £500,000. QSP makes software dealing with the accounts and management information of some of Britain's biggest companies, like British Airways, Legal & General and Courtholds. The programs are always used on IBM mainframe computers, which handle huge volumes of data. 60% of the staff are in research and development. They're constantly modifying and improving their packages, then passing them on to clients at no extra cost. All this has helped QSP to come a long way since it was set up in 1981 on borrowed computers.
In my previous job function, as the general manager of a software consultancy group, I had noticed there was a decided niche for a product which was real-time and integrated for financial systems. The cost of entry into our marketplace is very, very high. The cost of entry to compete with us was probably something of the order of 20, 25 million. Because of that, the number of competitors in our marketplace is quite restricted. There's probably no more than 10 worldwide.
Only 2,000 firms in Britain are big enough to need QSP software. So far, they've captured 100. That's been enough to support these headquarters and 150 staff. This month, the research and development section will move to purpose-built offices, and another 200 people are to be recruited. Your business has really taken off because of a deal with IBM. Can you tell me about that?
I don't agree that we've taken off just because of that. I think it's a reflection of the success that we've achieved prior to that, that IBM chose us as the vendors whose product they would wish to market themselves in conjunction with us into their mainframe sector. I think it's very much applauded, an accolade from IBM to QSP and its product.
The last finalist in the Company of the Year section has grown from a one-man operation to become one of Britain's market leaders in haulage and distribution.
Good afternoon, John D. May I help you?
Based in Ferry Hill, County Durham, the John D Group owes its existence to its chairman being made redundant.
Morning, Tom. Morning.
It was back in 1971. I lost my job, which was in the transport industry, and I thought the best thing to do was to buy a couple of lorries, which I had funds available for that. I acquired a few trailers, and we went from there. Having good friends in the industry and people that were willing to back me, I felt we'd give a good service, an efficient service, and we built it up and went from strength to strength.
From their regional base, John Davison and Group Managing Director Alan Potter have built up a distribution network right across Europe. Today, the group is split into 15 companies, each with its own sales targets and management structure. It has built up a fleet of more than 550 vehicles and employs over 1,000 people.
We sat down 2 years ago, the board of the company, and decided that the future really lay in expansion and moving the good image and service that we had in the northeast across the rest of the UK and there on into Europe. So we became very much a service and marketing-led organisation. We basically then had to just put people out in the field to generate the big chunks of business and be prepared to take risks in investing money in other parts of the country and in other parts of Europe. And that really is the cornerstone of the business now, marketing-led and the service which spreads from by word of mouth across the whole of the UK and Europe.
So we've now visited all of the companies who've won their way through to the final stages of the judging, and in a little while we'll know which of them can add another trophy to their long list of successes.
Next week, at a special presentation ceremony in Newcastle's Playhouse Theatre, we'll learn who those winners are and celebrate their success. So be sure to join us then.
Welcome to Newcastle in the Playhouse Theatre.